But nevertheless, God likes a good challenge. So we ought to look at the things not as, oh man, how am we ever going to make anything out of this? God wants it that way. And He wants to show you what He can do. So you feel good about it. And you just watch. And more will happen by prayer, I think, than I can believe and you can believe. Well, they laid the foundation of the temple. So 2 lessons. One, all that God said is going to come true. You just need to get on the right side and stay there. And God likes a good challenge. Now, I would just give a short message for y'all, and y'all can chew on it and come up with better. But here's a message I would give to the church here in Lumberton, Mississippi. By the way, in the prayer I could notice the things that were said, but I sure did like the accent too. The old Vermont accent, okay, where you going? No. And even the founding fathers said, you get up in those New England states, Massachusetts and all, and they got a little whine through their nose and a clip, and he said, I can't take it. They could hardly get together at the Constitutional Convention. They really say that down south where you have that long drawl, not Texas, but the southern states, that's the way they used to speak when they first came to America. The Pilgrims and so forth, with a drawl like that. And I like it. It sounds real good to me. But nevertheless, we still love one another no matter where you're from. Mm-hmm. But this church here, you don't know what's going to happen. I was telling one of the elders the other day, we start something and then it just seems like we turn around and it's growing and it's big and it's hitting a lot of people. Do y'all ever get messages from World Video Bible School? Have you noticed how big that's become? They have all the brochures and all that. Rudy Kane started that at Southwest. And they invited me over to their house a couple of years ago or so. I don't remember dates unless I try. But Rudy said, you know where it started? It all started with something Jerry Moffitt said. I didn't believe him, a liar. Yeah. He said, I had the money and I was asking, what do I do with this? What do you need, Jerry? And I gave ideas. And evidently somewhere along the line I gave him an idea and he made something good out of it himself with God's help. Something real big. So I told one of my elders, I know if before I die, we start a preacher school here, my kids will see it be a big one. It will grow. And I would be amazed. Whatever you're doing here, how little it seems, but with faith and God's help, God will make it grow. Something big. I don't know how to do it, and I'm still trying. What happens here on earth? Like here I am as a child of God. Okay, I've had some debates, I've written some books, I've gone to some schools, and I've done this and that. What have I done? Nothing. Honestly. Not one thing. And I try to get my kids and grandkids to understand that too. Little Adley even. He was telling me, I'm proud to have a grandfather like you. I said, I haven't done anything. I said, here's the way it is. I'm like a child, and I want to learn how to ride this bicycle. And my parents get right behind holding the seat. And I ride, but they're holding it steady. And we go all the way to the end of the block. And we say, let's turn around and go back. We do. And they're holding it. And then maybe at the very last, they might let go a minute. And then I get to run in the house and say, Mama, see what I've done. Come see what I've done. God's done it. I really like when Paul talks about the grace of God. By the grace of God, I am what I am. It may not look like much. With me, it's not very much. But it's by the grace of God. And Paul said that he was no different from the other apostles, but he said, I labored harder than they did. And I think he caught himself. And he said, Yet not I, but the grace of God that was in me. God's grace does it. We kind of hold on, but He does it. We have a little bit of desire. He does it. And so that's why I explained to Adley, I've done nothing. It's all the grace of God. And it's hard. It sounds funny to say that. You think I'm just spoofing around. No, it's really true. So this church right here, one day, by the grace of God, it can be whatever you want it to be. Do whatever you want it to do. It demands faith. You might say, well, why faith? Because God's trying to build a relationship with His children where they'll want to be with Him, want to do what He says. And so He gives these little challenges along the way. So, I look at y'all today and I think, if I could live another lifetime, and if y'all had faith, wanted to do it, whatever, I'd come back and see something really whooping wrong. But I'll tell you what happened, it'd probably go liberal, and you'd have to bring it back if you could, or start another one. And then I would say, this tells us they had to look at themselves. We're all like dead men. Our hope's cut off. And you look at get that and you think, well, but all is this God said. Come, Jesus said, come unto me, ye that heavy laden and burden and heavy laden, I'll give you rest. Trust in me, for I'm strong and I'll receive you as you are. Well, God's given us promises. If we will something that Jesus said in prayer, and we don't doubt in our heart, but believe that what we say comes to pass, you've got it. It will. Believe it. Now, I was in preacher school, and I guess Crease can hear this. Maybe he heard it once. I don't know. But I didn't have enough money to go. My brother wasn't a Christian, but he said, Jerry, I don't care who you are, Christian or not. If you want to do something bad enough, you can do it, and you will do it. I wanted to go to preacher school. At first, I wanted to go to Abilene Christian College, but I didn't have the money, and I cried. I couldn't go. But all of a sudden, here comes this thing where I can study the Bible, all of it. About 3 years worth in 2 years, all the Bible, and a few other courses. But nevertheless, I said, I can do it. Well, if I sold my car and I didn't have that car payment, and I did have money from it, I could do this. My brother sold it for me. If I sold this and I sold that, closed that bill, and if I sold my banjo, that was the hard one. I'd have a lot of money, and I could probably make it 1 year. And then God would take care of the second year. So I did. And I made it through the second year. I could have done it easier, but I felt I wasn't worth it. There were all kinds of people wanting to help people going to preacher school, but I didn't feel I deserved it. But I got to it. I got to preach at a place and preach my way through preacher school. So I say, look at this church. The lower it is, the better off you are. The more you can build yourself individually. There was a great preacher in my mind, great debater, James Harding, and he had a debate with Moody where I learned so much. James Harding. His daughter came with a boy who was in a school where he was. We want to get married, Papa. He said, get married? Y'all don't have 2 nickels to rub together. That's how poor you are. And he said, well, at least you got that going for you. He was glad they didn't have much money. You got that going for you. And they got married and they were okay. How many people get married and they don't have enough money? Barbara and I never thought you have to have money to live on and stuff. What are you going to do? God will help us though. Well, all that God said is true. He likes to see a challenge and work through that with people. And He wants you to look inward as a church. And I believe He would like you to look inward